Here we are in Yosemite National Park, down on the valley floor, in a nice meadow, with a nice stream down back behind me with the upper Yosemite Falls. And as we pan this way, you can see Half Dome through the valley and down the river, with plenty of snow around on the higher altitudes and even some down here. March of 2019, we had a great snow fall over the last couple months through this winter, which is going to make some great waterfalls as it slowly melts and creates lakes in the upper elevations, which trickle down through the waterfalls through the summertime and even goes into the fall. And to announce that we have a feast site coming in Sukkot 2019 here near Yosemite National Park. Not only is it important to be in temporary dwelling places during his appointed Sukkot, we also say tabernacles, because he is tabernacling with us at his time. Also, out in some of the most beautiful environments of his creation. Yosemite National Park is known for one of the most gorgeous, majestic, even coveted vacation locations in the world and around the world. People come from all over the world to vacation here, when they come from Europe and Asia and the Middle East, and when they come to vacation in the United States of America, Yosemite National Park is a wise investment with their vacation. Many of them come here. If you come here, you'll find many languages, and perhaps half or more of the people here, their native tongue is not English, because there's so much coming from all over the world. And have Sukkot, this feast, out in nature. It's a great way to worship and connect with our Creator, combining the maximum spiritual with the physical for rejoicing and rejuvenating. John Muir once said, a famous quote of his is, "Everybody needs beauty as well as bread, places to play in and pray in, where nature may heal and give strength to the body and soul alike." Of course, nature alone is not our ultimate healer. I'm not trying to say that, and I don't think John Muir was trying to say that, but it was all made by our ultimate healer. And the physical is helpful as we connect and pray and worship and live and rejoice with our healer out in what he has created. Not by man's hands, but so much, most of it out here, is by his hands. Do you know the Sukkot promised blessing for keeping all the 7 days of Sukkot, plus that 8th day that's connected to it is also a Shabbaton. It's like a Sabbath rest, a rest day, not quite as the same exactly as a weekly Sabbath. As it says, as one example in the book of Devarim, also known, more commonly known as Deuteronomy, chapter 16 and verses 13 through 15, we see an amazing promise. 7 days you are to keep the festival for, and I put that holy name there, letters, the Yud He Vav He, many say Yahuwah, Yahweh, Yahweh, depending on how you like those vowels. I'll say, how about Yah for short? The Yah of your Elohim, in the place He, Yah, your Elohim, will choose. And so we see here that he had plans long ago not to just have it in one place, but wherever He chooses, because Yah, your Elohim, will bless you in all your crops and in all your work. So not just agriculture, but all your work, so that you will be full of joy. Now that takes faith and living sacrifices. Yes, faith and living sacrifices. So we are calling out for those who can make it to the Yosemite National Park this fall in October. It'll begin at sunset, October 13th, the Sunday at sunset. And then the first day of Sukkot goes through Monday at sunset. And the 8th day will be, of course, 8 days later. And we're going to keep all of those days together for those who can and will. And will have the faith to do so. And I know for many years of doing this, since I was a kid growing up, 1975, if you want to date me, I'm not giving you my birth date there, but I've tried not doing all 8 days, and the financial blessings and the chastening of the Most High told me I should keep all 8 days. So I've gone back and forth. I've tested the waters, and I encourage you to test it too. Now, just keeping one commandment in the Torah is not going to save you. It's not going to make you a millionaire or billionaire. I'm not trying to say some kind of a prosperity gospel, but if you step out in faith with Him, Most High, in His promises, and you do it with a right heart, you will just wait and watch and see the blessings. Test it out. As I gave a teaching recently this year, serving Mammon versus the Messiah. The video teaching was uploaded onto YouTube, and I retitled it calling Masters. Now, there's two masters, Messiah versus Mammon. And Mammon is a broad topic, as I covered in the teaching. Who is the ultimate supreme master for you? Can He provide for you when you obey Him? Who are we serving or submitting to the most and more? Of course, we're taking baby steps, patiently improving each other, doing what we can to follow His way each year, do a little bit better. We may not be able to do it all this year or last year, to be called out, steps, still coming out of this world. We may not be out enough, but let's work on it year after year and feast after feast. Improve the best we can. Because we are calling out living sacrifices to this Feast of Sukkot near and inside Yosemite National Park this fall. At the Apostle Shaul, most people know him as Paul, and in the scriptures, in the translations, translated as Paul. He says in Romans chapter 12, verses 1 and 2, I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of the Most High, Yah, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, living for Him, of course, holy, acceptable unto Him, which is your reasonable service. That Greek word, the Strong's 3050, is logikos. Comes where we get the Latin word logic. It's your logical service. It's your intelligent. You're doing this intelligently, logically, not just blind faith, but you're walking in as you can see and plan ahead for and do the best you can. Verse 2, and do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed. We are to have transformation by the renewing of our minds, that you may prove what is good and acceptable and the perfect will of the Most High. Yes, His will is also to keep His feast. We see in Zechariah chapter 14, right, verses 16 through 19, a prophecy of the Messianic kingdom where everybody on earth Gentiles, Egyptians. All the families of the earth will be keeping the Feast of Sukkot. We can see all those days will be observed and kept in the future as a prophecy, and also in the past, and now also in the present. Why not the present? If we're going to do it in the past, present, future, it's all His will. Also observing all the 8 days, when you count that one holy day that's after the 7 days of Sukkot in tabernacles, to do the perfect will. Of course, perfect sacrificing according to His will, and in a balanced way, balancing out not just a dream vacation or a social club. It's not the Feast of Tabernacles, although it's good to travel as you can and to rejoice out in His creation. It's not just a social club or a tabernacles. It's not just worship and teachings only. In some places focus just on mostly on the teachings, and they don't have much physical rejoicing and getting out into nature and enjoying these things. We want to balance it out. Worship is great. Teachings are great. We want to balance that out. We've got an itinerary online that you can see, and there's room for speakers, qualified speakers, to sign up and to submit outlines to fit within the time constraints that we'll be having. But we're also going to be having days where we're doing outings and retreats at Glacier National, not Glacier National Park, but Glacier Point. Glacier National Park in Montana. But Glacier National Point, there's Upper Yosemite Falls where we're at here, there's Half Dome, there's Bridal Falls. Bridal Falls is a little one and easy to get to. And Lower Yosemite Falls, you can't even see because the trees back there are in the way. Easy half-mile, quarter-mile hike, flat ground. It's good wheelchair friendly here in the valley for a lot of things for handicapped people. If you have special needs, let us know in advance so we can be prepared and plan ahead for that. And it's not just a feast of rejoicing, right? Rejoicing is a commandment for Sukkot. It is an actual part of the commandment. When you look at the scriptures, as we said, we are to rejoice during this time. And so, but it's not just that. We're not going to just focus mostly on that. You know, we're balancing it all out, serving and sacrificing. Anyone can serve as they're able according to their gifts and their talents. And you can sign up for any gifts and talents that you might have, music, worship, dance, Hebraic dance. We want to have it all. So, Him with each other to become one as He is one. Doesn't it say that in the book of John, Yochanan, chapter 17, and in verses 11 and in verse 21, and in that context, He wants us all to become one as He is one. And we get out into His creation. It's helpful. It's a helpful tool, balancing it all out. And as many people invest a lot of money into just family vacations and dream vacations, yes, that's great, but why not combine it with His holy timing of feast that symbolizes His kingdom? And His kingdom is compared to mountains. And His kingdom is the highest mountain, higher than these Yosemite mountains. So when you're in this valley and you're looking at these high cliffs that go up thousands of feet, the valley floor about 4,000 feet altitude, and the tops of these mountains getting over 8,500 feet altitude, it is a glorious way to rejoice out with Him. It's helpful. It gives us a little boost. Of course, if you're doing it without His Spirit, it's not nothing, right? If you're not having love, if we're not going to have love for one another, it's not worth anything. It's foolish, as we see in 1 Corinthians chapter 13. We call it the love chapter. We do have to have love and learn to get along, but to get out in nature, in a natural, organic way. Oh, well, okay, we gotta have a little car here and there, and we gotta use petrol fuel, and we're gonna stay in accommodations. We've got motels, hotels. There's an RV campground. RVs or car camping. We're going to group everybody who wants to camp in the same area so that your neighbors will be feast keepers too, not just any strange neighbor or neighbors that are that are vacationing, we're going to keep people grouped together the best we can, and we're getting group reservations and everything organized for those who can invest and sacrifice, to be living sacrifices in faith and obedience, mixing and balance the two together. Faith without works is not very good, as James chapter 2 says. And works without faith, we cannot please Him. And faith is a substance of things that we don't really see yet all the time. It's not evidence, but we know we can do it because we can do all things in Him who strengthens us, even financially. If we just pray and put our hearts out to Him, maybe we got to fast about some of these things and give our heart to Him, give our ways to Him, our actions, our deeds, our heart, from our soul, our mind, and our body. The Shema, we say Shema Israel. Shem is name, right? Shem, His name, His authority. It's more than just hearing. It is acting when we hear. It's reacting the way He wants us to react and act. And we want to do that even with His holy feast days, which are perpetual, which will be eternal, and they'll be on the earth. As long as there are physical human beings, His days will be worshipped. And what about Isaiah? That prophecy, right? Isaiah 66 in chapter 22, verse 23, it says, with a new heavens and a new earth. It says all flesh, not just the Jewish people, it doesn't say Israel. All flesh will come and worship before me. Those aren't my words. Those are His words. I just quoted, of course. And how about a little shofar for that one? Tekiah, Shavariam. Teruah. And Teruah Gedolah for Shalom. Little extra there. Don't mean to just toot my own horn. But let's get out into nature as organically as we can. And the remaining of this video clip will be short clip videos of our trip, scouting around and showing you some of the highlights to give you a taste, just a little taste of what it'll be like to keep Sukkot down here. The waterfalls aren't as powerful and wet. You don't get as soaked in the fall as you do in the early spring and when the snow is melting and there's more snow to melt at the same time. But it will be great regardless. How can you not rejoice? How can you not heal with more faith? Being out amongst people who have the faith. And we will have prayer sessions daily, anointings for those who want anointing and healing, deliverance, anybody who wants deliverance. This Sukkot, we're going to focus on deliverance, healing, and whatever people need, miraculous involvement in their life. We're going to have sessions for those who request it. We're not going to force it. We're not going to put pressure on anybody to confess anything or to want to be anointed. This is all be voluntary. We're going to put that in the schedule in the evenings at certain times, and not just to be a show or a public thing. We could do it privately upon elders and even anyone with faith in the gift of healing. It doesn't matter what your age, what your sex, whether you're male, female. You're welcome. And if you got gifts of the Spirit, you want to share it in any way, just let us know. and we want to have an enjoyable feast. So enjoy the rest of this video as we connect short clips to it. Park, also the canyon that you have to drive through, the majestic canyon with high mountain ranges, breathtaking views everywhere you go, but we're going to give you highlights for the rest of this video teaching. Shalom Aleichem.